So yes, my dad was he was a big fan of France. Although he decided to, after his studies, to go back and serve his country, he was still a very big fan of France. So he wanted his children, at least the two that were born in France, to be good French people. So he, as an anecdote, he will eat French cheese at the table. He will have his French wine at every single meal. So lunch and dinner. So yeah. So when I was 17, I had the French baccalaureate. I think it's equivalent to A level, and I decided to go to France to do my university studies. And that's when I had the cultural shock, because in my head I was a French person, but French people there didn't consider me as a French person. They were asking me like every day, when are you going back to your country? When in my head I was a French person, so I didn't understand what was going on. And that's when I started to be really proud of my origins. And I would go back on holidays like every year. I would wear African outfits, and that's when I started to really love the fabric and everything cultural about Ivory Coast. So when I went to France, I studied engineering. So it's over, you have to study 5 to 6 years to get the Master of Engineering. That's what I did. So after the Master of Engineering, I still couldn't see myself living in France because of what I explained about being rejected. And I've always dreamed about living in an English-speaking country. So I decided to come to the UK. So I was accepted on a PhD scholarship in London. And I really loved it because I could see that it was a multicultural city. I could be myself at last. I could even wear my outfit in the street. Nobody would look at me. And when I was in London, after the first year, I had my first child. And then 4 years later, I had my second child, and then decided to move to the Northeast because I knew that London wasn't the good place to bring my children up. I wanted a quiet place, and I had a cousin living in South Shield, and I was looking for jobs in the oil and gas industry. So I had 3 interviews in Newcastle. I came to the interviews. Unfortunately, I didn't get the jobs, but I loved the place. I don't know what happened. I fell in love with Newcastle and decided to move here. And my cousin encouraged me to come, and I think it was the best decision ever. So when I told my friends back in London that I was moving to Newcastle, they said, "Oh, don't go there. It's a racist place. The people will throw eggs at you. Don't go there." Tried to dissuade me, but I took my decision and I came with my 2 children. And yes, it was the best decision ever, because I started my business right at the same time about promoting African fabric. And I wanted my children to be proud to be British, and also proud of their African roots, because they could see my fabric all the time at home. They could see that I'm working. I'm very passionate about my promotion job. And yes, they know they're from Africa. I speak French to them at home.